Okay, cool. Well, thank you all for being here. As the name would suggest, right, this workshop is the AI implementation workshop, where you're going to learn how to build your own useful AI assistants within your business. If you saw the update that Austin sent out the other day, I think it was yesterday, maybe 2 days ago, where he shared a whole list of the GPT tools or these AI tools that are now plugged into AgencyU to help all of you engage with the AgencyU content and take action on, building out your offer, writing ad copy, whatever. Those are actually tools that I've worked with Austin to help build out. And he used a lot of the tools that I'm going to share with you in this. Actually, he used the exact tools that I'm going to share with you in this presentation to help him build out those tools. So you're going to be getting the same stuff that Austin is using, AgencyU is using, and all of the same tools that I use every single day. But yeah, really today's session is not going to be similar to a lot of the AI sessions that I've attended in learning all this stuff, where people just get you super hyped up and excited about the future and what it can look like with AI, and then you kind of leave all buzzed up and excited and reconvinced that AI is going to be this revolutionary technology, but don't have actually anything super tangible to leave with. That's the exact opposite. I want to get you guys, like, by the end of this presentation, I want you to have a clear understanding of how you can use AI in your business today and the tools that you need to build it and make it happen. But yeah, getting into it. Okay, so after talking to hundreds of business owners and being really surprised, because I spend all this time working with AI tools every single day, but I'm definitely very lucky to have the opportunity to spend the time doing this. But most of the business owners that I talk to are really just kind of like somewhere in this zone of their relationship with AI and this technology. In general, AI feels super massive and kind of this broad and vague idea and technology and tool that doesn't really have a clear map on how you should be using it, right? There's no clear direction on exactly how you should be using it in your business, which just kind of leads to a little bit of, makes it just feel a little overwhelming, right? It's this big new thing that everybody's talking about, but there's really no clear direction on exactly how you should use it. And then in addition to that, right, we're all running businesses, right? So you are a little busy doing some other stuff. You don't have a ton of time to actually sit down, spend the hours that it takes to really learn this stuff and figure out how you can plug it into your business. And then in general, I think most business owners are just kind of like dabbling in AI. There are some advanced business owners out there who have built some of their own tools or are leveraging some custom agents in different capacities. But I think most of the business owners that I've talked to are just kind of dabbling with it, maybe helping it or using it to help them with emails, using it to help them with, proposal creation, or just kind of really dabbling, just kind of have their toe in, familiar with it, but aren't using it to the best, right? They know that they could be using it better. Anybody here feel like they're somewhere in that zone? You want to type like a 1 in the chat or put the hand up? Anything? Little audience engagement thing I injected into the workshop there. Let's go. Cool. Okay. So if you feel that way, you're not alone. I promise. I talked to enough business owners to know that you're not alone. Okay. So for this workshop, I have 3 goals. First, I want to give you a better understanding of what AI actually is, what it is not, and where it is going, right? So you can have a clear understanding of where AI is headed. Me too, Nathan. That's what I do all day. But cool. So better understanding of AI. Second, I want to equip you with a lens for identifying use cases within your business. So you can take this lens and look at your business operations or your product or your service and clearly identify where you should be plugging AI into your business, right? Not just general, here are the tools, and then now you have to be able to interpret how you can use it. I want to give you an exact lens and decision-making framework that you can go through to identify the use cases for your business. And I'm actually going to have a tool that I share as well. And then, as I said, the third thing that I want to equip you with from this workshop is the tools that you need to actually take action, right? So I'm going to share the exact tools, processes, and frameworks that I use to build useful AI tools for business owners every single day, so you can do the same for your business. And with those 3 things, a better understanding of AI, a lens to identify use cases, and the tools that you need to take action, my hope is that after this call, you can take your first steps to implement AI in your business today. Does that sound good? Boom. Audience engagement through the roof right now. Let's go. I'm killing it. Sweet. Okay, so quick introduction on myself. My name is Ian Gatzke. I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I live most of the year in Tempe, Arizona. I'm the former chief operating officer at a marketing agency called Rockrose Productions. It's actually how I joined AgencyU back in 2023. I've worked with that agency, worked on scaling that agency for about 4 years, where and in that position, I had a really unique opportunity where I was responsible for building out all the tools, systems, SOPs, hiring everybody, training everybody on those tools and systems. Basically, I just got to spend all day kind of at a desk working with all these new tools that were coming out. So I was able to spend the hours that it took to really understand this technology, understand all these new tools coming out, and figure out how we can mold them and actually make them useful for our business, which was a marketing agency. So that was a really fortunate situation that I found myself in during this time where all this new technology was coming out. And then earlier this year, I exited that marketing agency to found this company, very creatively named Implement AI, where I work with business owners to help them just confidently adopt useful AI tools for their business. And one note that I did add to this introduction slide, like I'm really not a techie guy. I went to college, I graduated from ASU with a degree in marketing and philosophy, right? So I never studied software engineering or computer science or anything like that. It really just took some time to learn these things, but I'm really confident that if I can figure out how to use this stuff, I know for sure. I've met enough people here in AgencyU to know that we got a lot of smart people here that you guys will be able to. Like, I promise that you can too. Okay, enough about me. Let's get into the good stuff here. So I want to start by giving you a foundation, just making sure that we're all on the same page. In this section, we're going to talk about what AI is in simple terms, what it is not, and where it is headed, where this technology is going. Cool. So first up, let's talk about what AI is in simple terms. So you can think of AI, artificial intelligence, as just like a really advanced software that mimics certain kinds of human thinking. It works by recognizing patterns. These can be patterns in language, patterns in structure, patterns in data, really just patterns in any of the logic that it has been trained on. Whenever it's given a prompt or a question, a command, or it's fed some kind of data, it looks back on everything that it has been trained on before in that training process, and then it thinks to itself, what is the most useful response that I can generate based on what I know and what this user asked me? And then it generates, yeah, it's not really like thinking the way that we would understand thinking, the way that we think, right? It's really just predicting the most likely useful output based on the input that you provided it. So you provide the context, you ask it a prompt, it finds the patterns, and then generates an output. That is as simple as I get right now in describing what AI is in action. But really, really what you need to know here is the more clearly that you structure your input or your prompt, and the more context that you give it, the better outputs this tool, AI, is going to be able to generate for you. Cool. So what AI can do today, I'm sure you're familiar with a lot of these use cases, right? Obviously, AI can just answer questions, summarize information, it can generate written content, analyze data that you feed it. It can stack within automations that you build, right? You can plug it into a make.com or a Zapier automation sequence that can call one of these tools to be able to interpret everything that came before it and advance to the next step. One of my favorite use cases for just like a general LLM is a brainstorming partner, where I just dump like a 10-minute voice chat on this tool and just like ask it, hey, where are the gaps in my thinking? What am I missing? What do you think the next steps are? So brainstorming assistance is super helpful. Can generate images pretty well. It's actually getting kind of scary how good the images it can generate are. And then sort of voice and video. I think video has taken a step in front of voice now with Google's VO3 and all that stuff that's come out. I'm sure everybody here, if you've spent time on Instagram or TikTok, Twitter, whatever, you've seen a lot of these videos, like what AI is capable of doing now with video generation. But I still think there's a little bit of work left to get through that uncanny valley when it comes to voice and video, but I'm sure it'll get there one day. What AI cannot do, right? So AI cannot lead teams. Like, it's a powerful tool, but it's not going to lead teams or inspire the people on your team. It's not going to foster connection and build strong relationships. It's really not capable of creating any original vision or driving innovation within your company, product, or services. And at the moment of this recording, it cannot execute in the physical world, right? Maybe there's some, I had a funny person in one of my workshops one time speak up at that point and be like, well, wait until the Terminator, right? Terminator comes and then he's coming. But yeah, but like the real thing with AI is that it cannot operate without giving clear instructions, right? It's just like a human, right? If you brought a human onto your team and you just kind of, they sat over here and you didn't tell them what you wanted them to do. You didn't have a clear job description, right? You didn't have the role fully outlined. You didn't have SOPs that you equipped them with, right? They're just going to kind of sit there and not really do anything, right? Same thing with AI. You have to give it very clear instructions on exactly what you want it to do. You can really think of AI as like a high performance vehicle. So we got a good little picture of Max Verstappen here. High performance vehicle that needs a skilled driver behind the wheel in order to get the most out of it. Cool. F1 fans, shout out. Okay, so where is AI going? To paint this picture, I like to tell the story of how the internet evolved, because AI is going to continue to evolve in a very similar fashion. So the early internet. The early internet was a wide open network, just a massive collection of different websites and directories and information, but there really wasn't much structure to it. You had to dig through those directories, click through a bunch of different pages, and piece together scattered information manually. It was when it came out, right, when Mosaic came out in the early 90s, everybody understood immediately that this was going to be a revolutionary technology. It was growing really fast. But at that point in time, it was a very time-consuming and difficult to use tool. If you didn't know what you were doing or where to look, it really wasn't always all that helpful for your average person or your average business owner, even like your advanced business owner. Like you really had to understand the tool deeply and have a ton of time using it in order to learn how to get the most out of it, right? So that's what the early internet looked like. But then how did the internet evolve? Over time, the internet evolved to a place where it turned from an ocean or like this vast generalized network into this huge number of purpose-built apps and websites, right? You go to Amazon to buy stuff. You go to Expedia to book travel. You go to YouTube to watch videos. You go to Google to do search, right? These tools made the internet far easier to use and faster to get the exact outcomes that you or the user wanted, and just overall much easier and more useful for everyday people, right? We went from this generalized tool that you kind of started at this one place, and then you had to know how to navigate through that tool to get what you wanted, to a place where there are these purpose-built apps and websites that, okay, as long as I know what Amazon is and what they do, I know that if I want to buy something, I'm just going to go to Amazon and they make it super easy. I'm going to go to YouTube to watch videos and they make it super easy, right? Instead of having to bounce around from this one generalized tool. Does that make sense? How that evolution kind of happened? Sweet. Cool. So how does this evolution going to play out in the world of artificial intelligence? So where we are today with AI, most of the popular tools that you're sure you're familiar with, like ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, Grok, right? These general, what are called large language models, are the mosaic of AI, right? They're that early generalized version of artificial intelligence that is extremely impressive. Everybody understands, that kind of took the world by storm and put AI on the map, if you will, where everybody understands now that artificial intelligence is going to be this revolutionary technology, but in its current state, it's really not super clear how to use, like how these tools can plug into your business and how to, they're just not super easy to use, right? Like they require this skill to get the most out of them. They require the skill of prompt engineering. Has anybody here heard of prompt engineering? Kind of heard that term thrown around? Yeah. Yeah. So they're extremely impressive. They're capable of doing a ton of different things, but they're very generalized and complicated to get them to do what you want them to do. Thus, the requirement of prompt engineering. So how are we going to go from this place with AI to what the future is going to look like, right? Obviously, I'm not Nostradamus, if that's the guy that predicts the future, but there are going to be some characteristics of what the future looks like, which are the following. So if we apply the same evolution that the internet went through to artificial intelligence, we are going to see the same rise of this ocean, or this huge number of purpose-built assistants like custom GPTs or AI agents that are built to do very specific tasks. So instead of going to one general tool to do everything, a purpose-built, think of them like apps and websites, right? Or GPTs and agents that you go to do this very specific thing, right? You'll have one AI tool that'll help you with, generating your proposals, and another AI agent that you'll go to help you build your content calendar, or you'll go to very specific GPTs and agents to do specific things, right? Making it much easier to get the outputs that you're looking for, right? Instead of having to come to this general tool, prompt engineer, to get to do what you want it to do, you're going to be able to go to this one tool that's built to do one thing very, very well. So you can just go to that, get it to do that one thing very well, or series of things very well, thus making it a lot easier. And the really cool thing, in my opinion, of how AI is going to just be so much more powerful than like softwares that were a part of the evolution of the internet, is that instead of just having some generalized, like for example, like HubSpot, like a CRM like HubSpot or a tool like Notion, right? These are still very general tools that when you buy a subscription for them, everybody gets the same thing, right? And then you have to kind of learn how to adapt them to fit your needs. But I believe that the AI tools, when they come out, like that process of adapting it to your needs and personalizing it to do exactly what you want it to do is going to be a lot easier. Therefore, kind of, it's almost going to look like everybody just has their own custom version of these tools instead of two businesses using the same tool the same way. The functions of these tools are going to look a lot different. But really, the end result is that these AI tools are going to make achieving our desired outcome a lot easier and faster and a lot more precise and aligned with our needs, right? So, and we're really already seeing this today, where you're seeing every software that you're already subscribed to has at some point made this big release about their AI feature within their tool, right? Like Notion AI, Monday AI, Descript AI, Canva AI, right? Every business tool is coming out with, or every software is coming out with their AI features. That's only going to continue to happen. But so like this shift of going from these general purpose large language models that are capable of doing a ton but are complicated to use to purpose-built tools that are embedded into our everyday business softwares and tools, or purpose-built to do very specific tasks, is already happening, and this trend is only going to continue to happen. Cool. So in summary, AI is moving from a place that is general to a place that is more personalized, specialized, easier to use, and integrated into the tools that you already use within your business, and overall just purpose-built for very specific use cases. So why should you care, right? Why should you care that AI is going through this evolution from general purpose to purpose-built? What can you actually do with that information in your business today? So because having this understanding, like knowing where this technology is heading, you can stop wasting time just like learning tools that aren't built to match your workflows, and you can really just focus on just working with I mean, on the other side of that, working with the tools, just making better decisions on the tools that you can spend your time building, and really just making better and faster decisions on the tools that you should start building and using in your business today, right? And you really don't need to be a full-time AI person in order to do this, but you just need to be the person in your business that can spot the right opportunity where AI should be plugged in to do that one very specific thing, right? Find the opportunities for the specific use cases for AI in your business, which we'll talk about later on in this presentation. And really this advantage of understanding where this technology is going, there's a real first mover advantage available right now. Like businesses that can start using and that are building these useful AI systems today in their business are going to have better margins, higher quality output, lower headcount on their team, and going to just be able to capture and take advantage of that opportunity today. And that's exactly why I started my company, Implement AI, to help business owners capture that advantage and get the most out of what this technology provides. Now that we know what AI is, where it's going, and the advantage that that understanding gives you, I want to get into talking about what custom GPTs are. In this section, we're just going to talk about what custom GPTs are. Like I said, I'm going to give you a demo of one of these custom GPTs, and then we'll talk about how you can identify use cases in your business. But before we do that, another audience engagement thing here. Can you type a 1 in the chat or drop? I've seen people drop like thumbs up. If you have used a LLM like ChatGPT before. Who here has used ChatGPT or some tool like that before? Sweet. Okay. Give me another 1 or a thumbs up if you've used ChatGPT or one of these LLMs this week. All right, lots of them. Yep. Cool. I'm sure a bunch of them even today. But okay, now keep your, I say keep your hand up, but drop another one or a thumbs up if you have ever built a custom GPT before. Okay, a couple. Sweet. Cool. Nice. Okay. Love it. A couple of you are pretty advanced here. Sweet. So I think what we're going to talk about should just be a good refresh for anybody that has built a custom GPT before, and also just kind of sharing some of the things that I have learned in doing so. And then to anybody that this is new, that's great. New information is good. Okay, before we continue and go into talking about what custom GPTs are, I want to clarify a few terms that I'm going to use throughout this process. You're going to hear me say custom GPT and GPT interchangeably, but they're the same. Know that I mean the same thing. And when I say a protocol, I'm just talking about a specific task that I've trained this GPT to perform, following a specific step-by-step process. And then the knowledge base are just the files or the context that I've given the GPT in order to respond accurately. And if I say ChatGPT, I'm agnostic to any LLM. Just know that I mean any general large language model. That could be Grok, Gemini, Claude, Anthropic, really any LLM. Okay, cool. With that out of the way, let's talk about what a custom GPT is. So a custom GPT, in simple terms, is just a purpose-built version of ChatGPT for your unique use case or needs, right? You can, like kind of a simple formula for building a custom GPT is you just pair your custom instructions with your custom knowledge base, and that will give you a custom GPT built for your use case, right? So when we talked about the internet evolution and how AI is going to continue to evolve, custom GPTs are very much one of those demonstrations or realizations of that continued evolution of artificial intelligence to purpose-built versions of those more generalized tools. Cool. So what makes custom GPTs useful, right? And a lot of this is just similar to what we talked about when we were going through that evolution process, right? So first, these tools are trained to follow your exact process. So they remove the requirement for prompt engineering in order to generate the outputs that you're looking for. Once you teach it something, it's going to remember it every single time. That could be your brand voice, your specific SOP or workflow that you want it to follow. It's going to remember it every single time that you come back and use this tool, right? So you don't have to start from scratch with this beautifully articulated prompt every single time. And really that consistency is super helpful. So every proposal, every content calendar, every thing that you're having your custom GPT doing, it's all coming out aligned with the exact format and generating exactly what you're looking for every single time. Cool. So instead of having to hire another person to do some repetitive stuff, you can build an assistant that does it exactly how you would do it. Or you can build these tools that can guide your new team members in doing it the exact way that you want to. Cool. But a lot of this is just similar to what we were just talking about in the benefits of what that evolution is going to look like. Okay. Now I want to go through an example of building a service delivery assistant GPT for a marketing agency. So this is we're going to go through the process that I went through roughly to build what I call a creative assistant GPT for our agency. So in going through this example, I hope that it will demonstrate, one, how you can identify a use case for your business, two, give you some ideas on what you could use a custom GPT to do. And then three, it's going to kind of tease the protocol method of building custom GPTs that I'm going to dig into a little bit more later on. And after we go through this example, I will actually pull the tool up on my screen and we'll just go through exactly how to do it. And then we'll dig into actually identifying use cases for your business. So let's say we were meeting with a business owner that had a content creation agency, right? And they had an offer with the following deliverables, right? Something like this, right? So we're meeting with a content creation agency. They have an offer where they will design a client's content strategy, come up with content ideas, write video scripts, capture the content for the client, edit the content, publish the content, and then analyze the analytics to identify what's working and what's not. So what we do here is we look at this list of deliverables or tasks that go into this client's offer, this business's offer, and we ask ourselves, which of these tasks could a tool like ChatGPT help us with? Let's take a moment and think to yourself, what do you think? From this list of tasks, which of these tasks could ChatGPT help us with? Let me grab water. Cool. All. I wish. I mean, honestly, maybe at some point. But when I was going through this process, I was going these four. Like these four were the most like obvious to me that ChatGPT could help us with from this offer, right? It's not going to, be super helpful when it comes to capturing, editing, or publishing the content. But with these four tasks, designing the strategy, coming up with ideas, writing video scripts, and analyzing the analytics to identify what's working, what's not, and how we should adjust the strategy accordingly, were like the most obvious to me that ChatGPT could help us with from this offer. So what we would do then is we would build a custom GPT with those four protocols, right? So this purpose-built version of ChatGPT or Custom GPT that was built to do these four very specific tasks is what we could build for this content creation agency, right? So we'd have a custom GPT that would help us design content strategies, create content calendars, write video scripts, and analyze analytics, right? So that's just a simple example of a custom GPT that we could build to act as a service delivery assistant for this content creation agency. So to make this real, I'm actually going to pull this up now. Let me go here. Oh, okay. Boom. So let me stop presenting. So I'm going to share. So this is actually a tool that I built for our marketing agency, my marketing agency, Rock Horse Productions. This is like the first real useful custom GPT that I built. So let me share this screen now. Go over here to this. Boom. Okay. So this is a creative assistant GPT. Like I said, we would build this out for every single one of our clients at our marketing agency. It does a whole lot more than what I just listed in that example, but to demonstrate what a custom GPT can do, we're going to go through the create content calendar protocol, right? So this is the version of the creative assistant GPT that we built for a client called Ironworkers Local 8 for us here in Milwaukee. And then when you come to the tool, we're just going to click create content calendar protocol. So tools built or GPTs built using the protocol method have protocols, and then every protocol is just a step-by-step process to completing that task, right? So this is the create content calendar protocol. So this protocol is built to help us create a 1-month content calendar for our client. Step 1 of this process, and this entire process is completely customizable, but for me, what I wanted was a 3-step process to building a 1-month content calendar. So step 1, it presents me with the information that it knows about our client for me to review to make sure that everything looks good. If I were to make any changes, I could do that, but just for the sake of this example, we're just going to say proceed. Everything looks good. The second step is it's going to generate a 1-week content calendar to make sure like I can kind of get a sense, for lack of a better term, of where the GPT's head is at when it comes to the content that it's recommending for our client. Right, so it's generating a 1-week content calendar that we can use for this client. Then I would review this 1-week content calendar, give it feedback, right? Say, hey, for this month, I want to focus more on these themes, or hey, don't do this, or any more, or whatever. Give it feedback. But if it all looked good, I just say proceed again. And it would generate a full 1-month content calendar for our client, which it should be doing right now. Okay, well, I want to keep it moving. It basically would just be like, it would do this 4 times is what it should be doing. But for some reason, it's just, I think I got too many things going on in my computer right now, but you kind of get the point, right? So you come here, you tell it which task you want to work through with, and then it will go through and complete that task following a specific step-by-step process, right? And we're able to do that instead of having to go to a general tool, give it all the context about our client, tell it exactly what we want it to do, right? We just did it in 8 words, and then we had a full 1-month content calendar for our client here, which it finally finished. I'm saying finally when it took like 30 seconds, but yeah, so now we have a full 1-month content calendar for our client that we're going to be able to use. This is a task that historically took us, hours to do. And again, we just did it in whatever that was, call it 2 minutes, let's say. Cool. So that was the demonstration of what a custom GPT can do. Let's go back to the presentation. But if you're, yeah. Somebody has a question?
How effective would you say the content calendar that it comes up with is in terms of how effective the content performs? Like, does it do market research based on
people are going to think
and what?
People are going to think that I hired you to ask that question. How do I say your name? I don't want to say it wrong.
Hamza.
People are going to think that I hired you to ask that question, because that's literally the exact next thing that I was going to go through. Like, because that's the question that I get all the time. It's like, okay, well, how effective? Like, that's great. It's great that we could generate a content calendar in a minute, but how effective actually is the content that we create, right? Like, are we going to be sacrificing the quality of the content that we're creating? Because like that's, clients aren't paying us to create content calendars fast. They're paying us to create content calendars that actually drive results, right? Like getting views, bringing in business, all that stuff. So great that we were able to do it quickly, but we can't be sacrificing the quality of the content, right? So with this client, that exact client that I was just showing their creative assistant GPT, we would use that tool to create their content calendars. Obviously, like, we had to have the skill set in order to train the GPT on the content strategy that we created for them using AI. But like we had to have, like, again, we had to be the skill driver to get the tool to do exactly what we wanted it to do, following our unique process and logic that we packed into this tool. But yeah, we use this for this client. And before they started working with us, which was March of 2023, they were getting 24,000 views per month from their Instagram and Facebook combined. And then if we look at this, this is December through January of 2025. So this is the end of last year through the January of this year. So that's what, April, it's like 8 months. And I built this tool in the summer. So the first couple months we were still doing it manually, but then we started using this tool to generate all the content ideas for this client and then write all the scripts and all that stuff. And we were able to take them to over 1.2 million views per month using the content that this tool was recommending for the client. And that was in 8 months with this client. So the content ideas absolutely like worked like a charm. It blew my mind when it worked this well. The best result that we had gotten for a client, hands down. And now we use it for literally every single one of our clients. And this client is now up to over 2.2 million views per month, I believe, last time I checked. Adam, you have a question?
Yes, I guess kind of adding on to that, I feel like that's been one of the biggest holdbacks, at least in our agencies. I mean, at least the research that I've done and playing and being in the whole GPT space and AI and whatnot, I guess that's been the biggest holdback at seeing these numbers. I'm like, oh my gosh, like this makes way more sense than, taking 20 hours in a week to sit down, ideate each client, give them the ideas. But if this takes that whole thing, that's mind blowing.
Cool. Okay, moving on. Getting into the juice, the good stuff here. We're going to talk about how you can identify use cases for your business, right? We're all agencies here in AgencyU. So how can we identify use cases for your agency on how GPTs or AI agents or AI in general can plug into your business to actually deliver and drive meaningful results? So there's 4 questions that we can ask of any task, right? So you can take any task in your business and ask these 4 questions. The first question that you can ask, obviously, and these 4 questions will either qualify it or disqualify it as a task that a custom GPT or an AI tool could help you do. So you take a task, first question you'll ask, can ChatGPT help with this task, right? Again, insert any LLM. Can Gemini help with this task? Can ChatGPT help with this task? If no, it's not a good fit. If yes, we'll move on to the next question. The second question is going to be, is this a task that you do regularly or repeatedly? If not, again, it's just not a good fit for a custom GPT, right? If this is just like a one-off or one-time task or one-time thing that you're working on, it doesn't make sense to you to build a whole custom GPT that's built to help you do that task because you're only doing it one time, right? Or very infrequently, right? It really just isn't going to be a high priority GPT that we should focus on building right now. But if this is a task that ChatGPT can help us with and is something that you do regularly and repeatedly, we're going to move on to the third question. Third question is, when you complete this task, do you follow a consistent process, a set of rules, or any kind of like internal logic when you're completing this task, right? So for like the content calendar, right, there's a pretty consistent process. There's like a consistent output template that we would have, and we're leveraging our unique skill set and knowledge in order to do this. It doesn't mean that it has to be 100%. You don't have to do the task 100% the same way every single time, but there should be some kind of like reasoning pattern or structure that stays the same. This one is always the most confusing, so I wanted to give you 2 quick examples. So an example of a task that would be yes to this would be creating client proposals. So even if each client is different, every single project is different, you probably follow a pretty consistent structure to the output of your proposals, or a pretty consistent process to creating your proposals, right? In that proposal, you'll include your client's goals, a recommended breakdown of your services, the pricing, and a clear list of next steps. And then you might even have like a consistent template that you just use every single time, right? So that is like repeatable logic and is something that we can train a GPT to do very well. And I actually built one for our agency. It's another thing that I can share with you guys if you're curious. A sales assistant GPT that helped us create proposals in minutes instead of hours. It's probably my favorite thing that I built, because creating proposals sucked. But okay, then an example to a task that would be no, something like this, right, is if you built out a new offer, you're coming out with a new product and you want to come up with a creative name for that product, right? There's not really a clear step-by-step process that you follow every time. That's not going to be something that you're doing very frequently, right? So it just doesn't make sense to build a complete GPT for that, right? Could a AI assistant help you spark some ideas? For sure, but I think that would make more sense to just like jam with ChatGPT or your favorite LLM to just help you come up with some ideas. Yeah, but in general, like if a task is based more on like gut instinct, feel, or just like customized back and forths, right? GPTs aren't going to be great. But if there is any structure, even if it's like 70%, like any structure to doing this task, even if it's like 70% similar every single time, we could probably build something really useful. Okay, final question. Is this task time consuming or an existing bottleneck in your business, right? So like even if we said yes, yes, yes to these first 3 questions, but it takes you 2 minutes to complete it every single month, it's really just not going to be a GPT that you want to start with, because it's not, saving you all that much time, right? It's probably going to take you more time to build the tool than it is going to save you in the year of doing the task, right? But if this is a task that eats up hours or drains your team's energies, right, it's not something that everybody loves to do, or if it holds up the speed of the delivery of your service, or growing your capacity to take on more clients, that is a gold mine opportunity for a custom GPT that you should be building in your business. This is going to be the kind of GPT that like really moves the needle in your business when it comes to the quality of your service delivery, and like the speed of your service delivery and the capacity that you're able to take on your team, right? That's what I mean when I say high priority, right? Cool. So kind of going back to that example that I shared earlier for our agency, Rockhorse Productions, building a GPT that helped us create content calendars for our clients saved us dozens of hours every single month, right? We had like 10 different clients that we were building content calendars for. Building every content calendar, even using regular ChatGPT, would still take us like probably 2 hours every single time, is what I think I had mapped it out to be. And we went from 2 hours to literally, like, I had budgeted 30 minutes, but we went through that together. So it was saving an hour and a half for every single content calendar, for every single client, every single month, for our creative director, right, who we were paying, like $50 an hour to. So that was saving a shit ton of time for our team and us a bunch of money. And then he was able to spend his time on other things. So that really just like changed the game for our business. And that was just one task. And there were a bunch of other tasks that we built the Creative Assistant GPT to help with. Cool. So I know that framework can be kind of confusing. So here are some other more basic questions that I ask whenever I'm meeting with a business owner to uncover some opportunities for useful custom GPTs in their business. First one I asked is like, what are you consistently using ChatGPT for right now? Are there any repeated tasks in your business that are done more or less the same way every single time? Are there any documents that you generate in your business that you wish you had a first draft generator for? Do you have any saved prompts that you used often? If you have any saved prompts, that's a clear indicator that we could just build a custom GPT around that prompt, and it's going to be able to operate so much better. Because you're going to be able to engage with it in other ways, but whatever. And then the last one here, which I know will hit some people, it's like, what long threads do you just have saved in your ChatGPT account that you constantly are going back to for this? Like, what long threads have you saved in your ChatGPT, and why? Like, what are you using it for? What are you going back to that thread for? That's another clear indicator that we should just turn that thread and whatever you're using the thread for into a custom GPT. Cool. Let's get to the fun step here. But okay, I'll take a minute here and brainstorm with all of you. So what you can do is you can scan the QR code on the screen now, and that's going to take you to a GPT that I built. That's called I think it's the GPT Use Case Identifier, right? So this GPT is going to ask you a series of questions to gather context about your business, and then help generate a list of potential custom GPTs that you could build that'll be in that high priority list. So I'm going to give it like a minute or two for everybody to do that. But what I want to do, you guys go use this tool, and then I want to hear from like 1 or 2 people on some of the ideas that you came up with.
Yeah, I have a use case that it said it can help me with. It came up with
Yeah.
4 cases for me. So one was lead magnet companion to help create lead magnets to give free value, video strategy planning, and there was 2 which I've prompted based on what would benefit my clients more. And one was lead response and nurture GPT and a client follow-up companion GPT. More the lead response and nurture one seems a better fit. The client follow-up one, I think that would require them to input into GPT too much, everything like somebody says to them, rather than having a
Yeah.
model in place that does the kind of automations for you or the messages for you.
Right.
Because that's what I
Love
found.
it. The idea of using GPTs as a lead magnet, I think, is phenomenal as well.
Yeah, I think that would be really cool for my business. Would you integrate like GPT and then Instagram like communication? How would that work?
Yeah, so there's a bunch of different ways. So I prefer building what are called tools on a platform like Relevance AI, but there are a billion other ways that you could do that. Like I know people, well, I mean, I'm not sure if you can connect a ManyChat account to, you can have it call a custom GPT that you've built, but yeah, I love Relevance AI. Like that's where mine goes immediately. I would build what's called a tool on Relevance AI to connect my GPT to my Instagram, like my Meta Messenger account, and then it would be able to respond to those messages.
Cool, perfect.
Or CloseBot. That's another platform that I'm familiar with. CloseBot. You can train a bot connected to your Instagram DMs and then plug it in. Cool. Love that. If you have the link to that tool, feel free to use that whenever you want to help you come up with other ideas. But now I want to go through the protocol method, the framework that I developed for building useful custom GPTs. So what is it, right? So the protocol method, as I mentioned, is a framework that I developed after building hundreds of these custom GPTs, after realizing that most of the GPTs that I was building and other people were building, that I was using the GPTs that they built, like were falling short because they were either too vague and too generalized or just not trained with the right structure. So this protocol method is really just a structure and a framework for training and building useful custom GPTs. And it works because you turn your GPT from just this generic chatbot into a task-specific assistant trained to execute using your logic, your process, and the standards that you have for that task. You're not just throwing in prompts to this GPT hoping for a good output. You're designing a system that's going to think and work the same way that you would and follows a specific process that you can trust will generate a useful output every single time. So that's the protocol method, right? You just have different protocols that you train it on. It goes through a step-by-step process to generate that useful final output, leveraging knowledge base, right? Very fun little graphic and visual here, right? Cool. So there's a 5-step process to building a custom GPT using the protocol method. Step 1 is creating what I call a blueprint, right? So this is where you're going to articulate the purpose of your GPT, list out all of the protocols that it's going to be trained on or the specific tasks that it's going to do, outline the knowledge base that you're going to equip this GPT with in order to do those tasks effectively. Really, this first step is the most critical part, like with any task. Sorry, I got distracted. JDG, do you have your hand up for a question still, or is that just left up? I think it might just be left up. Go ahead.
Oh no, yeah, no, I was just I put it up because I just was filling out the link that you sent me.
Cool, no worries. Sorry. Sweet. Okay, so creating this blueprint really is the first step where you're like laying out your plan, your vision for what you want this GPT to be doing. This step will save you so much time in the building process. Like if you go into the process of building it with a clear plan and a clear vision of exactly what you want it to do and all the knowledge that you're going to have to train it on in order to do those tasks effectively, it will make the entire building process so much easier, especially when you're using the tools that I'll be sharing later on. So critical first step, getting your plan super clear. Second step, once you have that plan super clear, you're going to go through and you're going to write what are called the protocol instructions, right? So these are going to be the instructions that you give to the GPT on exactly how you want it to do each task, following that specific step-by-step process. Third step, you're going to write what are called the configure instructions, which are just the overarching behavior preferences and the protocol trigger phrases for that GPT. So this is going to govern the behavior preferences for your GPT when it's across all tasks and across all inquiries. Yeah, so that's the configure instructions. Fourth step, branding and customization. So you're just going to come up with the name, photo, description. You're going to check all the capabilities boxes, all that stuff. It's super quick step. And then the fifth and final step is when you deploy, get your GPT live. Whenever you build a new tool, right, there's going to be a testing process, right? So once you get this tool built, share it with your client or start using it within your team, there's going to be, refinement that you have to go through. So get your GPT launched, test it, get it in the hands, stress test it, identify where it's coming short, and make those improvements. And yeah, that's the 5-step process to building a GPT using the protocol method. So if we remember back to that decision framework, like if we were to take a task through this framework and we answered yes to all 4 of the questions, that's a high priority GPT that we should build. And obviously this is something, building GPTs using the protocol method is something that I do every single day. So if we go through that framework with the task of building a GPT using the protocol method, right? Can ChatGPT help with this task? Yes. Is this something that I do regularly and repeatedly? Yes. Do I follow a consistent process every single time? Yes. Is this something that's currently time consuming and a bottleneck for me? Absolutely. Like building these GPTs takes a good amount of time. So I built a GPT that guides me through building GPTs, following the protocol method, right? Building GPTs exactly the way. So I just basically copied my process for building custom GPTs following the protocol method, and I built a GPT that helps me do it. So more on that in a second. But to summarize everything that we covered today, right? So we started by going over what AI is, what it is not, and where it's going, right? This evolution from general purpose to purpose built to do very specific tasks extremely well, thus making AI a lot more user-friendly and personalized and just more useful at the end of the day. Then we went through a lens that you can take to look at your business operations to identify use cases for AI, GPTs, AI agents within your own business. With that 4-question framework, just kind of a list of some questions. I shared the tool that you can use to help you identify use cases for your business. And then finally, I shared the process and frameworks that I used every single day to build custom GPTs that you can apply on your own, right? So at this point, you have everything that you need in order to take action and build these tools out for yourself. Hamza, I'll get back to you in just 1 second. But really, there's work that will go into this, right? It's not going to be something that you snap your fingers and it's done, right? You have all these ideas, but it's really time to take action. If I can repeat myself. But to help you do so, I built what I'm going to share with you called the AI Implementation Toolkit. The first thing in this toolkit is going to be a PDF that lists the first 3 GPTs that you should build in your business. It's just going to be really clear cuts. Like you should build GPTs that help you with 1, 2, and 3. Those should be your highest priority GPTs. Second, this AI Implementation Toolkit is going to include the link and access to the Custom GPT Builder tool that I use every single day to build all of my custom GPTs. That's going to guide you through the process of building GPTs that follow the protocol, like using the protocol method. This is the same tool that I shared with Austin to help him build all of the GPTs that he's sharing in AgencyU. And again, is the tool that I use every single day. This AI Implementation Toolkit is also going to include a video tutorial that's going to walk you through the building process using the Custom GPT Builder tool. So it'll just be that complete video guide that you can go through when you're building your own custom GPT. And then finally, as a bonus to being here today in this workshop, I'm going to include the link to this slide deck so you can come back to it at any point whenever you want. And you can get all of this today for the low price of absolutely free. So you just scan this QR code and it will take you to a link and send you all everything listed here. Cool. Okay. And then, so these tools will help you take action, but to anybody that wants to take action on some of the stuff that we talked about today, I typically charge $297 to do what I call a blueprinting session, where I will meet with you and go through your entire business operations to uncover the use cases for your business. I'll do that with everybody here completely free. So you can just scan that QR code again. I'm a big QR code guy. And then you can book a time on my calendar to have that conversation. And what I'll do is, if you remember, the first step of building a GPT using the protocol method was creating a blueprint. What I will do is I will create a comprehensive blueprint breakdown for each GPT that we uncover during that conversation and send that to you, so you can use that as like the foundation of your building process using all the tools that I shared with you today. So we'll have like a deep dive conversation where I'll just ask you a bunch of questions to uncover those use cases, and then yeah, you can take that from there. Sweet, Adam. Looking forward to it. Cool. Okay. Well, thank you all so much for your time. Was able to get to that last part a lot quicker than I thought, but really appreciate you all being here. I make a lot of content on YouTube, so if you want to learn more about the stuff that I've shared about today, you can check that out on YouTube. Otherwise, I'm in the AgencyU community. You can always hit me up on Slack or send me an email. But thank you all so much. I'll stay here for a few minutes if anybody has any questions, but have a great rest of your Wednesday. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what you guys build. So if you build something and you want my feedback on it, send that over. And I'd love to do that as well. So let's go. Have a great day. See ya.
I just wanted to say
doing,
hi and thank you for sharing candidly and clearly.
For sure, man. Hey, thank you so much for saying that.
And I actually booked a call for Monday.
Okay.
On the 30th. So I think I should be ready by then, but I have a lot going on. So it'll be good to just kind of hear your insight on everything.
Cool. I appreciate it, man. Looking forward to
Pleasure,
it.
man.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
Yep.
Bye-bye.